Hello, everybody. Welcome to English Fluent Talk, the place where your voice finds its confidence and your English becomes more than just a skill, it becomes your power. Let me ask you a strange question. If someone met the idea of you before they met the real you, what would they expect? Would they imagine a quiet thinker or a passionate explorer, a poet or a problem solver? The truth is, introductions are not just about names and jobs. They're about stories, energy, and the little details that make us unforgettable. So today, I want to introduce myself not just by who I am, but by how I've come to be. Maybe along the way, you'll find new ideas for how you introduce yourself to the world too. Because at the end of the day, people don't remember your name. They remember how you made them feel when you said it. 1. The identity beyond the name. My name is Sarah, but that's just the label I carry. If you want to understand who I really am, think of me as a blend of a curious child, a patient listener, and someone who constantly rewrites their own definition. I don't believe people are finished products. We're all drafts in progress. When I introduce myself, I don't rush to talk about my job or degree. I try to speak from a place deeper than that, what drives me, what I struggle with, and what I'm learning. That's the true essence of a meaningful self-introduction. People often think of identity as something fixed, but I've come to see it as a living conversation. It grows, changes, and surprises us. I am not just who I was yesterday or who I'll be tomorrow. I'm the space between those versions. When I meet someone new, I hope they don't just see a face. I hope they sense the questions I'm still trying to answer. In many ways, I'm always in translation, even when I speak fluently. That's the version of myself I bring into every room. 2. My cultural and emotional landscape. I grew up surrounded by contrasts. Maybe it was the mix of cultures in my city or the stories my family told me from different generations. I became someone who values opposite stillness and movement, silence and conversation, tradition and reinvention. This background shaped not only my personality but my worldview. When I meet people, I often try to find the thread between our lives, no matter how different they look. It's in that space that the most honest introductions happen, not just between people, but between ideas. Some of my earliest memories involve hearing two languages spoken in the same sentence. I used to think that made communication messy, but now I think it makes it richer. I've learned that belonging isn't about fitting in. It's about standing comfortably between many worlds. These layered experiences gave me a flexible mind, a sensitive heart, and the ability to hold multiple truths at once. That's why I find beauty in contradictions. It's what allows me to connect deeply, even when words fall short. 3. Skills and passions. What do I do? Well, I work in the space where language meets creativity. I'm passionate about communication, not just talking, but connecting. I've spent years working with words, writing, speaking, teaching, and learning. But more than that, I'm obsessed with understanding how people think and how we can use language to bring clarity, empathy, and even healing. My passion isn't a task, it's a lens through which I see the world. And if I'm honest, I believe everyone deserves to find that one lens that helps them make sense of who they are. I see language as both a tool and an art form. Every sentence is a chance to build a bridge or burn one. I think about tone, timing, rhythm like a musician thinks about melody. The most powerful moments in my life have come not from loud voices, but from well-chosen words. Whether I'm helping someone find their voice or crafting a message myself, I treat communication as something sacred, and that mindset has changed the way I live and lead. It's not about sounding smart, it's about making others feel seen. 4. challenges that shaped me. But no story is complete without tension. There was a time when I didn't believe my voice mattered. I was quiet, unsure, and always comparing myself to others. That silence taught me something important. Confidence doesn't come from being the loudest. It comes from knowing your worth when no one else is watching. Every introduction I give now is a small rebellion against my past fear. It's proof that we're not born confident, we become confident, one word at a time. There were moments when I stumbled over my own name, moments when I avoided eye contact, moments when I sat in the back of the room so I wouldn't be called on. But I slowly realized that courage doesn't mean having no fear, it means speaking anyway, even when your voice shakes. I began to challenge myself in small ways, raising my hand, sharing an opinion, standing up when I'd rather sit. And over time, the voice I once doubted became the voice I trusted. That transformation became the core of how I define myself today. 5. My philosophy on connection. Here's something I've learned. The best introductions are not rehearsed. They are real. They come alive when you speak with presence instead of perfection. When someone asks me, "So, who are you?" I don't try to impress. I try to invite them into a space where it's okay to be curious, to ask weird questions, to laugh at yourself. If you ever want to introduce yourself in a way that people remember, don't start with facts. Start with feeling. I believe connection begins where performance ends. You don't need the perfect bio to be memorable, you need presence. The kind of presence that says, "I'm here, and I'm willing to be seen." That's more powerful than a resume. The best conversations I've ever had started with honesty, not achievements. When you strip away the mask, something magical happens. People feel safe to do the same. And that's when true introductions happen not between names, but between souls. 6. Everyday moments that define me. I believe the truest version of me isn't found on a resume. It's found in the little things. The way I slow down when I hear an old song. The way I light up when someone tells me their dream. The way I keep a journal full of half-thoughts, questions, and doodles. These aren't just habits, they're fingerprints of my personality. They say more about me than any award or job title ever could. So when I introduce myself, I try to include those colors, tooth-soft hidden ones. I'm someone who talks to the moon sometimes, who rereads the same book because of one sentence that moved me. I notice patterns in people's speech. I remember strangers' smiles. I believe there's something sacred about the ordinary, that every small detail adds up to a masterpiece. And while I love talking about big dreams, I also love celebrating quiet wins, making someone laugh, showing up on time, growing a little. These are the pieces that form the real picture. These are the roots of my self-introduction. 7. The power of growth through others. Over time, I've realized that we don't grow in isolation, we grow through each other. Every conversation, every introduction, every shared laugh or silent pause becomes a mirror. Sometimes it shows us who we are. Other times, it shows us who we could become. That's why I try to listen with the same energy I use to speak. Because the people we meet are not just passing characters, they're co-authors in our evolving story. When I introduce myself, I'm also opening the door for someone else to do the same. That moment of mutual presence, that's where transformation begins. So in every handshake, in every greeting, I try to leave space for others to feel seen, heard, and maybe even inspired. Because introductions are never just about identity, they're about opportunity. The opportunity to meet, to learn, and to grow. So now you've met a version of me. Not the polished one, not the LinkedIn version, but the layered, evolving human version. And maybe that's the most honest way to introduce anyone. Not as a destination, but as a journey in progress. The next time someone asks you to introduce yourself, don't just give them a name, give them a glimpse of the story. Let them feel the chapters you've lived, the questions you're still holding, and the dreams you're quietly building. Because that's what people remember. That's what connects us. Not perfect grammar, not flawless words, but truth, vulnerability, curiosity, and presence. You see, the best introductions aren't performances, they're invitations. They're not about saying everything, they're about saying something real. And real is enough. You are enough. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being part of this moment with me. If this message spoke to you even a little, I invite you to share your own version of yourself in the comments. Let's keep the conversation alive. And remember, your voice matters, your story matters. And here at English Fluent Talk,